Hello once again, all you lovely people out there on the internet. It's me, that gaming nerd John, and today we're finally getting back into it with 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim for the destruction sequences. So, we're going to be going into the second area of the destruction sequences. A lot of wonderful, lovely mistakes that I'll be making, and I'll be having that color commentary all throughout. Just like last time, I'm going to try and break this up into kind of smaller chunks. I figured having like another 2.5 hours of me fighting giant robot evil alien invaders would kill me. And you. So I thought I'd be more generous and try and break it up a little bit so that it's a bit more digestible. Like soft bread. Or something. Anyway, so we'll have the first two missions that we'll be going into. I'll have my commentary before each of the missions and then throughout, just kind of talking about the various things that I noticed. That said, kind of whenever the pilots are saying something or if the story plot is progressing, I'm going to kind of take myself into the background there, just to kind of highlight more of those pieces of information that they're relaying. So yeah, I guess with that all being said, we're gonna just dive right in. Let's get to it. Okay, so we're picking up basically right from where we left off with the previous destruction sequence, where it's gonna go into Area 2. You can see this one's, the bonus objective, pretty simple. Just don't have anybody die, be quick, and you're gonna be facing large hordes, so that'll be a fun time. So pick some pilots that you like and smash some bad boys up. Pretty simple stuff. All right, let's see what happens here.
Multiple Dymo signatures confirmed. We're starting to get even more of them.
That's weird. They're a little different from the D-forces in the database.
What do you mean?
They're similar to their original designs, but they've been modified and optimized further. The system's making changes to the kaiju on the fly, specifically to fight all of you. My current processing is at 6%. Be careful, everyone.
I don't know how long we gotta hold out here, but not gonna back down now.
So basically what Miyuki Inaba is referring to there is the upgraded, the modified kaiju. They're going to be the ones that have kind of that blue shading to them. Good old sentry gun. So they're going to have higher health, more firepower, but more importantly, most attacks will do reduced damage to them. So this is going to be the beginning of where the game requires you, well, I say require loosely, encourages you to actually start using other abilities. So you can see there, like, Hijiyama only did like 500 damage to some of those other kaiju versus the like 1,500 to 2,000 that he was doing elsewhere. And the big guy's gone. And that has to do with the fact that they are shielded. They are enhanced kaiju, so they take reduced damage from any non-armor piercing abilities. So that's going to be something going forward where, like, a lot of my loadouts will start to change for my pilots. You could probably still get away with it on, like, normal and easy, more than likely. Even hard, to an extent, if you're, like, super duper over leveled. You'd probably be able to get away without having to worry about that. But, like, on your first playthrough, it behooves you to at least have, like, 1 or 2 good armor piercing options. Yep, you know, just blow up everybody else. But yeah, so, like, took care of most of those, like, smaller chumps there, but the larger targets are still around because of the fact that they are armored. So that also means things like the interceptors are pretty good because they actually are armor piercing, which is super nice. Like the Gen 4s have that, like, basic ability, one of their first, like, Gatling gun abilities that's actually armor piercing, and it's normally pretty weak, but now it actually has a lot of utility because it hits a number of times, it's decent damage, and it's very low EP cost, so you can save your EP for things like the interceptors, the shield matrices, the leg spikes especially. Super handy. So, definitely something to keep in mind.
The database has been updated. I guess we have number 16 to thank for that.
Those little buggy bastards are even faster now.
If we let any of them through, they'll swarm the terminal in seconds.
Then, even that G-Molar? Its power unit's been upgraded. Now it's got even more destructive potential.
Not just offense. Some kind of new alloy's been integrated into the defensive shell. If the shell's harder, then we just punch it harder. It's gotta crack eventually.
Yeah, so just like what they were alluding to there. They're going to hit harder, they're faster. Basically, it enhances the abilities of that particular kaiju that were already present. So just making sure that you have those options, either of just absurdly high damage, like for instance that railgun, or missile rain is still good. But it definitely highlights things like, for instance, this anti-ground hunter missile. So it's armor piercing, it hits hard. It's going to take out those enemies that have the modified stats. Or, you know, you could just railgun it. Sure, why not, Natsuno? The deliberation. Why not just hold off and wait until, like, this giant wave comes in? Yeah, that seems good. Yeah. Sentry guns are still going to be good because they are armor piercing, and I think this is what I'm going to... Yeah, good old missile rain. God, it's still good. Like, sure, those armor guys are still going to be around, but, like, all those weenie guys are just toast. And then Demolisher Blade is going to do some good work. There's only a few times where Demolisher Blade isn't going to just genuinely rock socks. So, like, for instance there, you saw how that damage was still equalized, but those numbers were still shown in that blue color. So it's like, yes, this unit is upgraded, it is armored, but it didn't have that shield icon, so it's doing its full damage, which pretty much you want to be doing. You know, you want to do the most damage you can, right? I mean, in general, it seems like a good idea. Leg spike, hella good. Yep, there we go. Gone. Bye, High Quad. Wave goodbye to the High Quad. Bye, High Quad. Just kind of positioning. Trying to utilize all the Sentinels. Sometimes it feels like overkill having all of them, but it's never a bad thing to have multiple options available to you. Never a bad thing. And again, like, a lot of my abilities are going to be just generally stronger because, like, you can see right there, +8. So they're maxed out. They are totally to the 9, well, to the 8s, I suppose. In terms of their destructive capability, like how far they can be utilized, how much damage they're going to do, like the HP values for the various turrets and such, they're all topped out. And that's not going to be the case on your first playthrough unless you're an absolute masochist. So don't worry if, like, you're not pumping out as much damage. This is definitely a situation over overkill. So, like, the multi-lock missiles, for instance, they get less good because they're not armor piercing. So a lot of those units that are upgraded are still going to be alive. However, Miura took care of that. Then we've got anti-ground hunter missile. Again, it's very similar in many respects to what other ranged tools they have. It's just going to be able to do more damage to those units that are more capable of the armor.
Termination of enemy signals confirmed. Aegis activated. Terminal closure complete. Surrounding 2-kilometer area now fully secure. Ending technical analysis.
Everyone listen up. Each of you needs to check this, meta system business. Something's been added to the system. Did you do all this data analysis? Do I sound like I understand all this egghead talk? I'm just relaying a message. From who? Well, that child from earlier. Chihiro did this? So she is helping us. Let's hope.
Warning. Dymo signatures approaching. Dymo signatures. That means they're coming.
Man, this is rough.
Yeah, and so there's Hijiyama kind of relaying that information there, where it's like, hey, you know, make sure to be upgrading your units so that they're good, because otherwise you're gonna fall behind. And of course, Hijiyama being MVP, like, come on, we all knew that, right? Come on. But yeah, so it's another one of those times where, like, it showcases the characters in game referencing these gameplay systems, these gameplay mechanics in, like, a fairly natural way. Like, it can be kind of heavy-handed sometimes, but I kind of appreciated that. So, like, we just had a mission dealing with a bunch of ground units, so the game went, but what if you had to deal with a bunch of aerial units? And again, like, these bonus objectives, not hard, no limitations on your team composition, it's more so just playing the game well. So, fairly generous, still. Alright, so, let's get ready to fight a bunch of crap in the air. Sick.
More of these freaking flyers? Man, why am I stuck on the ground?
Quit whining. I wish mine was stuck on the ground. If it meant I could hit like a train.
The 4th generation models have some unique features. They can use the latest plasma weaponry and interceptors. On top of that, they're equipped with barriers and high-output laser weapons that didn't exist at the turn of the 22nd century. The rotors matched the drill flies, and the barrier was clearly taken from Apsos technology, meaning the 4th generation mechs were created by Okino, derived from the designs of the Deimos themselves. Is that true?
He makes it sound so cool. I was basically copy-pasting random design elements with no idea how it'd actually work. Really, the Sentinels have always kind of been siblings to the Deimos.
Okay, so here we go, getting started. It's gonna be pretty similar to how in the first area you had that anti-air mission where they were like, guys, don't just have things that can attack the ground, make sure you've got things that can attack everywhere. And it's like, thanks game, I get it. Variety is important, having, you know, tactical options is a thing. The good news is most of the best moves in the game do target both. So like you have multi-lock missile, you have sentry guns, you have interceptors, you have missile rain is a big one. So like here I'm like, okay, well I got my Gen 4s, which they, you know, discussed in the plot stuff at the beginning of the game, because they're like, wow, look at all the cool things that Generation 4 models can do. And Okino's like, yo, I just copy pasted that stuff, don't worry about it, it's no big deal. Hilarious. There they come. Good times. Good times. This... Oh boy. The only thing that really annoyed me about air units was, like, there's a couple of missile types that Gen 3s have that, for whatever reason, only target ground units. And I get it, it's a balancing mechanic, but, like, thematically, you look at some of the little, like, vignettes that showcase these weapons, and you're like, how is that not dead? Ah, Missile Rain, my best friend. And so now, like, we've got these horde-style enemies where there's just tons of them, and they sprinkle in the armored ones. So it does somewhat reduce the effectiveness of Missile Rain, because obviously it's not going to be hitting as hard on those guys that have that armor. It's still really good, because it's just an overwhelming amount of damage. But hey, you know, that's what things like, for instance, the EMP attractor ability are for. Making sure that you got ways of kind of controlling the battlefield. Or just, you know, sentry guns. I just always go for Missile Rain. It's never a bad thing. Like, being able to cover that much of the battlefield with damage, just straight up damage coming in, is solid. That's a phenomenal EMP use, though. Yes, please, and thank you. And obviously, EMP Attractor is not armor piercing, so it just locks them in place. Like, it's mainly to bring down those units that are flying. It's not meant to really be a damaging ability. It was just when you're playing on baby easy mode, like normal enemy types go bye-bye. There's a Terror Carrier in there, and that's just to continue manufacturing more enemies, really. So it's to apply more pressure to the player. It's not really like a new enemy type that they're showcasing anymore, hence why we didn't get like a little story vignette there. They're like, hey, remember this asshole? Hey, he's a back. But there'll be some new interesting variants with that. And hey, it's gone. Leg spike, it does work. Missile rain. Again, why not? It worked pretty well the first time. It's gonna work pretty well this time too. Shocking. Poor Gen 1s, they really got the short end of the stick, man. They really do not have a whole lot of great anti-air options. And I get it, because like thematically, they are the close combat units, so they shouldn't. But it still feels bad, man. Yeah, lots of pretty good options though for Gen 4s, like that laser, armor piercing, kaboom, bye. Pretty much, yeah, I think multi-lock missile might be their only attack that isn't armor piercing. Huh. That's still good. It's damage, it's just not nearly as much.
Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, so might as well just move into position, right? There we go. Plopping down some more sentry guns because we want them to get caught up in the crossfire. Oh, hey! Look! It's another friend. Another Terror Carrier there. Again, just to pressure the player, because it's like, hey, you could leave this guy alone, but he'll just keep pumping out more dudes. Which isn't good. That's super overkill and hyper rude of me. But clearly I wanted to make sure I was safe there. So I just told that dude to go home. Alright, so now... Yeah, the pulse lasers, that's what they are. I was like, the machine gun thing, it's arm-mounted pulse laser, you know. Because you can just pick that up off the shelf. But it's good. It's good. Like, you get a lot of hits, it's armor piercing, it's free, literally 0 EP, low wait time, so... It's quite good, quite good. Not quite sure what I'm thinking here with this. Probably just to get some more damage on. Because now Amaguchi is, okay, basically just being bait for that one last guy. And then, yeah, a tractor just to land it. I think if they're also EMP, they won't generate any units, so that's also a solid tactic. I'm fairly certain of that.
Termination of enemy signals confirmed. Aegis activated. Terminal closure complete. Surrounding 2-kilometer area now fully secure. Ending technical analysis.
I know it's kinda late, but maybe you'd know, Sekigahara. They're attacking the mainframe from these terminal things, right? That means these terminals are all huge weak spots. So why are there so goddamn many of them? We covered this already. The mainframe uses them to control and maintain the city. They're laid out in a network, like a massive nervous system. That's why the kaiju are going after them.
So, it's the UFO that's going to destroy our city?
You don't know anything, huh? This ain't even our city. It's been a damn cage ever since we were born.
That's the last of them, right?
So yeah, that'll wrap it up for the first 2 waves in the second area for the destruction. You can see, like, particularly in the second match, like, it's not something that's necessarily challenging. It's kind of reinforcing what was previously taught the player while kind of slowly, incrementally upping the stakes. Like in the first aerial mission for Area 1. Hey, Miura, getting an MVP. Nice, dude. They had it so that it was just like all those weenie aerial units. It wasn't terribly difficult. And then you can see how it's different in this particular one, because now you have like the Terra carriers, there's the armored units that you need to make sure that you're utilizing the various anti-armor devices for, or at least just controlling them with things like EMP, etc. So that kind of wraps it up for those first two waves. We'll be continuing our trek through the second area, the destruction sequences, getting to learn a little bit more about that backstory for the game. Like, for instance, at the end of that second mission, you saw them talking about how the city isn't even theirs, it's a cage. You have Takamiya referring to that, and that's something that we'll see when we get back to the remembrance sequences. So it'll be interesting seeing how those various pieces of the plot start to fill in. So you have, you know, these little kind of discrete chunks that we're getting in the destruction sequence that still move the plot forward. But those comments are definitely something to keep in mind, because we haven't really gotten to those big reveals just yet, and these allude to that. So it's really one of those situations where, like, a lot of the time in these styles of games, like, you can just ignore this kind of combat-centric part of the gameplay and just not really, like, turn your brain off, not really pay attention to it, but you still kind of want to in 13 Sentinels, because there's still going to be little hints given to the player about the story in general, and I thought that was really neat. But you know what else is really neat? Hitting that like and subscribe button, because that's how the internet will let you know when I talk more about this game and things. But hey, thanks for watching. Thanks for making it through the beginning of this particular portion. I'm definitely going to be able to churn out more for the destruction sequences. I find them really enjoyable to talk about, so thanks again. And as always, my friends, take it easy.